Yeah, hi. So when I went to PCOM, I'm gonna do lots of videos on this topic because I think it's so important. For me, certainly impacted my life. But I went to PCOM started in 2005, and I had an advisor. Her name's Dr. Marsha Singer. She had a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. I think she went to Temple as an undergrad. She wore these really fancy glasses. I forgot, Fendi or something. She's very soft spoken, very nice. Um, and She's very big on Israel, I think. In fact, I think a couple times when I emailed her, she was actually in Israel, which is fine, But it was interesting because I wrote a paper on Israel because I think they were bombing the hell out of the Palestinians while I was a student. And that was one thing I noticed while I was at PCOM. I was very political. And I think that's germane to what I'm getting ready to talk about because I don't think they appreciate that. I think my impression going to PCOM was that it was sort of a kind of a center right wing type of school. Uh, because they had the POW MIA flag flying there, and so anyway, I came in, I forgot when this was. It was like, yeah, I had to come in to see her like halfway through the program. And she said to me, "How do you think you're doing? How do you think you do in class?" I said, "Oh," and again, I'm usually very happy go lucky. I'm usually a very happy person, uh, or at least I was. I was happy that particular day because when I was at Temple, my experience with my advisors was horrible. They didn't give a shit about me or my academic work. I remember one guy was writing a comic book and couldn't be really bothered. Anyway, Marcia at least had the sweet demeanor and all this other stuff. But she says to me in the nicest tone, because I said, "Oh, I talk a lot. I raise my hand. I try to talk in class and contribute and everything." She said, "Well, maybe you talk too much. Yeah, that might be the problem." Okay, you know, just creepy. And she was one of the three: Dr. Elizabeth Gosh, Marsha Singer, and Stephanie Feligosi. I haven't gotten her yet. I really had interactions with Elizabeth Gosh and uh, oh god, getting old because I can't remember the name I just said. Um, anyway, so I met with my supervisor, my advisor, and she said to me, "Oh yeah, you may be talking too much because you have been accused of making sexual innuendo in class." And so it's amazing how immediately Marsha Singer, I went from being in a good mood to now I'm paranoid. Like what? Sexual innuendo. Because the program was like 60 people, maybe 50 women. And the other guy's a white guy. I think he was Irish or something. I think of course, he went on to get a PsyD. But I was very cognizant from day one of the fact that I was one of the few males and also African American male at a predominantly white and white female program. So, yeah, I've already been around that block, so I know how that goes. So, I simply asked Doctor Singer, what did I do? Like, what I maybe it's a misunderstanding. Because sometimes I do look at people, like, I'll look at people, maybe because I've watched a lot of television in my life, I don't know. Or, sometimes I just look at people talking and look at their faces. It's not sexual necessarily, but, it's really interesting. Uh, she said, "Oh, I don't believe it, but you brought it up." But she doesn't believe it, but even though she mentioned it, I didn't mention it, she mentioned it. I said, "Well, who said this?" No, 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 no. Well, what did I do? No, no, no. It's in your file, but I'm not gonna tell you what you're accused of doing or saying. I'm just gonna put that out there. So this, and then later when I said, "Oh, I thought that PCOM was a very hostile environment." Oh, I told Annette John Hall, which was pointless, uh, at the Philadelphia Inquirer about all of this, and she didn't even bother to report back, but said, "Oh, PCOM thinks it's your own personal problem." Yeah, it's awful. Uh, and yeah, so for me, it's like a racial element. There's like a racial element. Like I'm threatening. I'm stupid. I don't have morals. I don't have character, and I'm hypersexual. But we're not going to tell you how you're hypersexual. And in fact, I've never been certainly not at the college level, in a place where professors comment on your behavior with other students. Like, why don't you let the students, if they have a problem with you, why don't you let them deal with it? These are adults. We were all adults. And so then I went around and asked my fellow students, "Well, do you have a problem with me? Does anybody have a problem with me?" Because I was actually very cordial with my classmates. The only one I actually was really sort of close to happened to be a lesbian at the time. She's not a lesbian anymore, but she was a lesbian at the time, and in fact, that made it feel more comfortable because there was no sexual tension. She's like one of my boys. Anyway, she's a sweetheart. Um, yeah. So, what was really interesting too was they had a guy who's teaching pharmacology for, because I was supposed to be getting my drug and alcohol certificate, which I never got because I got thrown out. Just stuck with the bill. It's no big deal. And he made sexual comment. He made a sexual comment, a real sexual comment that I and everyone else heard. He told one of the students, she happened to be Eastern European, I forgot from where, but he said, "Oh, your sweater," he said this in class, "your sweater really fits you nicely." And after, when we had a break, she said, "Did you hear what he said?" And everybody's like, "Yeah, that was creepy. Did anything happen? I don't know. Did anybody report him? I don't know." But I get reported. I mean, it was a very racist, I think it's a deeply racist, and it sounds conspiratorial or like race card, playing the race card or whatever. Psychology is a very racist field. It's very well documented. It's not a secret. So, in order to be in like I said, a right of center, slightly right of center psychology program, you're going to be a racist program because you can't deal with Arthur Jensen and Raymond Cattell and the other dude in Canada measuring black guys' penises without being racist. I mean, they celebrate racist. The bell curve. Richard Herrnstein was a very prominent psychologist. There's no question. Unless you have to actively be against the racism in psychology to start to approach the center or whatever. Now I'm getting off, but it was creepy that Marsha Singer did that. Like she thinks she's slick. Like I don't know if that's some like I'm gonna put it out there. Like, I know she knows what she's doing. She also made a very nasty comment too. One time she was covering a group psychotherapy class that I was taking, and now I'm actually working on becoming a certified group psychotherapist. She asked me, how are you doing? Not she didn't give a shit how I'm doing. Um, and at that day, there was a kid I'd worked with for about 4 years, and his brother was in a kind of it wasn't a murder suicide. It was like a mutual murder, and it was really weighing on me because I knew his brother. His brother shot his girlfriend's father, and the girlfriend's father shot him simultaneously, and they both died. And I was just thinking about that. And this kid, his dad had also been murdered. So I said, I started to tell her that. She's like, oh, well, everybody has problems. So that little thin veneer of, oh, I'm a compassionate human being, which I thought psychologists should be. Yeah, that was bullshit, of course. I have a lot more I'd like to say about PCOM. Um, and really, what I'd like to do, and a lot of other incidents in my life, and a lot of them are around race and class, frankly, because it is what it is. This is the way our world is. We can pretend that it's not, but it is. And corporate power, and that's what I'm really interested in: mental health, race, class, corporate power, and lying. There's just so much lying, and it's very hard to deal with when people have no problem lying. They have no problem being liars, and that's unfortunate in a lot of people. Anyway, it's all for now. I hope somebody watches it.